Hi, everyone. All right, welcome to Foundations. Let me just fix this. All right, so today we are going to start seated, and you can grab your gray blanket and find yourself on the earth and take a seat. Prop up your hips a little bit, and let's find the sits bones comfortably lifted up on your blanket. You can walk them back, cross the ankles, bring your head nice and tall, and then let's touch shoulders up to ears. Big breath in. Let it out. Yeah, just a couple more. Lifting up and drawing down. Finding some space in the shoulders and the neck. And then when you're ready, you can draw shoulders down and start to bring the shoulder blades towards one another and take a moment to just slightly drop chin down towards chest. Just enough to get a little bit of a stretch in the back of your neck. And then when you're ready, lift chin back up and let's just draw left ear to left shoulder. Very slight. It's not fully touching ear to shoulder, right? We're not hunching down, just a slight draw to the side. And then offer some space for your breath to travel up and down your neck. And you can come back up through center and just draw right ear to right shoulder. And you linger here. I'm going to move my light a little bit so you can see me. There we go. And then slowly draw up to center. And let's turn head side to side. And then land on a side and bring your hand to the cheek. So just releasing through the neck. Nice and long in your spine. Drawing the shoulders down your back. Breathe here. And then release hand, and let's turn head to each side. And come to the other side, hand to cheek. Inhale, lengthen through the back of your neck. And just make some space in your neck and your shoulders. Try to bring your breath into your body, into all the little tight spots. And then slowly bring hand down to knee. And let's turn head side to side and see if we've made a little bit of progress. Perfect. Let's sweep hands up to the sky. And as you do, let's draw them back down and I'll bring us there. So hands onto knees. We're going to work a little bit in the core, and we're going to do it in a way that might be a little different than how we typically experience the core. So let's start by working the pelvis, which is a big piece of how we engage core and how we work core. So we'll rock a little forward and back. So rocking in the pelvis, keeping the upper body, right, moving and mobile, and the lower body as much as you can stable and in place. So just really working the pelvis, rocking it forward, rocking it back. And then eventually, let's do some circles too. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit of tightness in my fascia around my hips. So let's just work to have a little bit more release. And then switch directions. And then when you're ready, now we'll tone back. Hands stay on knees just for a moment. Now you have this evenness in your pelvis. So notice if you're tilting a little forward and back, and find that evenness in the pelvis. And then notice if you're kind of angled side to side, and try to bring yourself to that evenness there. And with your shoulders over your hips, shoulders down your back, chin draws slightly, so we have a lot of length in the back of the neck. And then I want you to just slightly tone the belly towards the spine. This is something we do in a lot of our shapes, even seated, sometimes even on our backs. But when we are standing and moving, this toning to the belly, belly to spine is super, super important. It's how we stabilize the core. It's how we strengthen the core. And it's also how we expand the back. So once you've got that there, let's send the arms up to the side, flip palms. Inhale, reach hands up to the sky, breathe in. And then exhale, down back to the earth. Keeping that tone in your belly. Let's do 5 sun breaths. Breathing in as we lift. And then slowly releasing on that exhale. Notice your breath as you lift and reach. And if you're feeling this, I don't know, if it feels a little unnatural to be breathing in this manner, then you can switch it up. Maybe inhaling on the draw down of the arms and exhaling as you lift up. Let's do one more. And then bring hands down through heart center. Pause here. Close your eyes, drop chin down to chest, and just give yourself a moment to land. Right, to set in, to feel present in your seat on the earth. And here, landing, noticing. What do you want to cultivate today? What do you want to explore? What do you want to call in? And together we'll open with a letting go breath. Perfect. Let's come to hands and knees, and we'll only be there for a moment. I'm going to work the arms and shoulders a bit today, so we'll be on the knees for a few poses. If you'd like, you can bring your blanket underneath your knees. Spread it out nice and wide, so it's about the width of the mat. Curl those knees onto it. There we go. This is the nice thing about home practice, is sometimes you can bring your mat onto a carpet and then you get that natural padding as it is. So we're going to press hands into the ground and grip fingers into the mat. Press the palms, spin inner elbows towards one another and forward, and engage through the shoulders. And if I went through that super fast, no worries, right? You get what you get. Pull belly up into spine and land here, right? So again, we're engaging through the core. Notice, right, if you have a curve to your low back, and you can always look at this after class if you don't have a mirror nearby, but notice your low back. And if you feel this curvature in your back, try to draw straight, belly up into spine. Yeah, we want to build that support. So really building the core structure. And it's not like doesn't have to be super strong and squeezed, but some engagement here. And then we'll keep that engagement as we extend right leg long. And we'll be here for just a breath or two. So pulsing the leg forward and back. Yeah, and then come back to tabletop and extend the left leg. And again, just a couple of pulses to open up the hamstrings. Wake up your legs, give them some attention, and then come back to center. Let's walk arms nice and long. We're going to come into puppy pose. Now, if you have tension in your low back, then this might be a pose to avoid. You can kind of get into it and then just, use your discernment, right? Your yogi discernment to decide if this is something that is going to feel supportive, encouraging, opening, or if it's something that's just a little too intense for your body. Walking your arms nice and long, we're melting heart down towards the earth. And you should feel this mostly in your shoulders, in your heart space, in your chest, out through your armpits. Usually when we do stretches, we don't think about stretching the armpits, but I promise it's a nice place to add some mobility and space in the body. So just give yourself a couple more breaths. And again, this might not do anything in your low back, right? Belly is lifting up, but it's not engaged here. You're just melting and opening space. And then slowly walking palms back up to your shoulders, hands press into the ground. We're in our tabletop pose, pressing into the earth, finding that tabletop once again. And notice here if you feel any difference in your shoulders and your heart space. And let's walk into a downward dog. So take your hands forward. I was going to go in a different direction, but I think let's just do that. We already have open hamstrings. So coming with hands over shoulders, you can press hands into the ground, grip those fingers, inner elbows spin towards one another and forward. Shoulders are strong, and then press through the feet, lifting hips up. Keep that strength in the shoulders and the arms, and walk your feet out to the edges of your mat. You can bend knees and lift hips. Just give yourself some space to breathe here into your ribs. Let's give it just 2 more breaths. Staying strong in the shoulders, trying to bring your weight into your feet. We'll work on that more in the future. And then bend knees. Let's look forward. And on your next exhale, slowly walk your toes up to your hands. Bring your hands onto your shins, flat back. Here, belly is engaged, right? It's lifted up into the spine. It's toned, it's strong. Shoulders are open, heart is open. Neck is nice and long. Breathe in, and then exhale to fold it out. So let's do that movement just twice more, and I'm going to bring some smoothness to it. So hands on shins, nice and strong. Build the strength, build the alignment. And then on your exhale, fold, release. Ha. One more, just like that. Feet stay exactly where they are. Body is strong, belly lifts up in the spine, nice and long and open. Breathe in. And then on your exhale, we fold, we release, we let all that effort go. Ha. Maybe shake it out a little bit. Shake your head no. Yes. Shimmy your shoulders and your hips.
sway a bit side to side. You can walk your feet out to the edges and let's just linger here in a fold. Right, letting go of any tension that might be kind of lingering in your system, right? Anything that might be stuck that you're ready to just let go of and let release. Last breath in. Let it go. And slowly to heel your feet closer together. Press through your feet, bend knees. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll yourself up to standing. Inhale, sweep arms up to the sky. Keep a slight bend in your knees. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Breath in here. And breath out. So keeping your feet a little wider than hips width distance, we're going to work on our extended mountain today. And often when we think of mountain pose, we think of this straight, strong, long, open stance. And I want to give you a slightly different version that has a little bit more integrity in the balance. I'm going to show you from this side and then I'll turn so that you can see me from the front. So take your feet a little bit wider than hips width distance. Soft bend in the knees. Start to draw belly towards spine. Head is nice and long, shoulders are open. And we'll begin with hands drawn down along your sides. So here again, we're toning belly to spine. And I want you to open up now, enliven your palms. Send all 10 fingers out like suns, like radiating, like you're giving the air high five. Perfect. Yeah. So press down nice and long up through the back of your neck. Get tall here. Imagine someone's pulling your head up on a string and you're lifting, lifting, lifting a little taller. It's a subtle movement, but it's important and it's palpable. Shoulders drawing down your back, palms nice and active and engaged, like they're radiating like little suns. All right, I'm going to turn so that you can see me from the side. So again, slight bend in the knees, see like the wideness in the fingers. Shoulders draw down the back, head is lifting, lifting up. Breathe here, and I want you to feel nice and open in your heart. Press feet into the ground. Enliven, and let's give ourselves 5 nice strong breaths in this power pose. Breathe. Nice and strong. 3 more breaths. Affirmations you can add here. I am strong. I am present. I am radiant. Maybe bringing your hands onto your hips. Let's have right foot pressing into the ground and left knee comes up to hip height. Here we are pressing, belly is strong, head is nice and tall here. Firm up the belly, drawing it into spine. And we'll take, let's do 3 breaths here. Right, so maybe again, opening up palms along sides, but if you do that, radiate them, right? Nice, strong, active fingers. Perfect. And then let's draw a foot onto the earth. Inhale, sweep hands up to the sky. We're going to clear it out. Exhale, hands to heart center. Breath in. Let it go. Hands on hips. Now we'll press left foot into the ground. Right knee comes up to hip height. Firm up the belly. Balance here. And if you've got the balance right and you're ready to add something to this, you can firm up the hands, send the arms along your sides. Right foot is active, right? You're imagining that it's standing on a surface. Light up, right? Light up every little piece and part of you. Be in the shape. Last breath in and exhale, release. Inhale to clear. Palms touch together. Exhale, hands to heart center. Breath in and breath out. Perfect. Inhale, arms reach, this time lifting up. Finding that extended mountain. Feet are, again, you can walk them just a little bit wider than your knees. Tone belly into spine. So just like we did in our mountain pose. And it's if it's helpful, you can come into mountain first, right? So really firm up your feet, strong in your belly. And when you're ready, right, just bring yourself into a sun breath. Arms are reaching and notice what here is active. Right? Notice what's active. I'm going to close your eyes if you can, or just soften your gaze, stare at the earth. And notice what's working here. Most of the time, we need to engage the core a little bit more. And so press that belly back into spine. Most of the time, you're going to feel this a bit in your shoulders. You should also feel it down here in your thighs. So belly is strong, arms are lifted. And again, we'll take just 3 breaths here. Keep firming up through the core. You wouldn't think it's a core pose, but it is. And this is what we talk about when we're talking about, right, moving your pelvis in a way. Notice if you're dipping a little forward, it's going to be very hard to activate that core. Versus if you drop the tailbone and really pull belly into spine, you should be able to feel that articulation. Last breath here. And then exhale, hands through heart center. This time we'll bend knees. Are folding all the way down to the earth. Inhale to your halfway lift. If you have blocks nearby, you can bring them underneath your hands. And then we'll use blocks as right foot stays forward. And we pick up left foot and give it a big step back. Finding runner's lunge. You can stay here and linger for a breath or two if you'd like. And if you're ready, you can drop your left knee onto the ground. Maybe bringing blocks up to a nice tall height. I say maybe, but recommended. And then make sure that your knee is right over your heel, so that as you press into the ground, as you lengthen through your spine, we land here. You can come up onto your fingertips, start to lengthen through your torso. So lift up here. And it might not seem like it, but this is also a balance pose. And this pose, just like most of our standing poses and most of our active poses, also uses the core. So let's fire up belly, draw it into spine. And you can test your core strength, test the engagement, and see if you've got it. And we'll do that by sending one arm out to the side, maybe the other. And you should feel the same amount of core strength here as you do with your hands on the blocks. So notice that. You can always come back down onto the blocks. We'll be here for just 3 breaths. And then bring hands down onto blocks. We're going to do a switch with our feet. You can step right knee back. And let's sit down on our heels. As we do that, toes are tucked under. All 10 toes are on the earth, or trying to be. That baby toe doesn't always make it down on my in my particular foot shape, but the rest of them are. And then so we're sinking back and we're sitting on the heels. And if this is a little too intense, this big toe stretch, right, this foot stretch, you can bring a block and put it in between your feet, nice and wide, and sit on the block. And I promise, you'll still feel it. It just won't be quite as intense. We'll sit here and breathe into this foot stretch, right? Really expanding those toes. If you, in the summertime, if you're wearing a lot of flip-flops, this particular motion is really, really important. Same thing in the winter time when we wear heavy boots. And when you're ready, we'll walk, crawl hands forward, find that tabletop, uncurl the toes and tap them onto the ground and let it all go. And we're going to come back and do that again. So if you didn't have the block the first time, you can grab the block now. Tuck those toes under. Let's slowly crawl, slowly at your pace. Hands can be on thighs. And again, we land here and we're sinking into the heels and into the toes to stretch the toes. And while we're doing that, I will distract you with telling you about why we want to why do we want to stretch the toes? So in the summer, again, with flip-flops, and in the winter with our heavy boots, what we tend to do, the tendency is, if you're looking at my hands, right, you might see this is, imagine their feet. And what we do is we curl the toes, gripping those thong sandals, just as we do when we are gripping our toes in the boots, right? When we're cold, right? We might tense up a bit. And so what we do here is we stretch back out the toes so that they can be even, so that when we use the thong sandals, right, or the winter boots, there's just a little bit more openness in the feet. And so with that, I have reached my level of intensity. And if you haven't yet, you can uncurl your toes, come into that tabletop, and let's tap out the feet. Whew. It takes a little bit of time, but you can build up a nice little, flexibility in the toes and the feet to allow that to really help and benefit your whole body. So now let's bring blocks forward, and we are going to step left foot and land in our lunge on the other side. So again, if you had your back knee lifted before and you'd like to start there, you can. If not, you can join me with your knee on the earth. And slowly, we kind of build into this nice and slow, feeling the foot on the earth, feeling the top of the right foot in the ground. And then slowly, this time, let's focus a little bit more on the hip. So how do we light up the shape, right, in a way that really engages, lifts, adds presence as energy to our asana, to our physical shape? You can start by pressing left foot into the ground, all 5 toes, really pressing it down as if you're standing on something. Notice that here. And then from here, pressing the knee towards the heel and squeezing on the thigh. Yeah, squeezing the thigh. Draw your left hip back so that it's even with your right hip. So you can bring your hands onto your hips now, and we'll feel into that. And then start to pull. See, I say pull belly into spine, but it might be a different movement for you. This might be more of a pelvic tilt. What you want here is enough support so that you can squeeze your belly muscles and you're getting traction here, right? So that you're feeling something. You should feel a bit of bracing in the core. And again, you can keep your hands on the blocks and still have this movement. But what we tend to do often in yoga class, and especially if it hasn't ever been taught or broken down to us, is that we can tend to be in this shape. Hold on, let me relax myself out. We can be in this shape and have no energy to it at all. I can be in this shape and it's almost like a yin shape, like I have no strength here. But when I add the strength, press the foot, squeeze the thigh, engage the belly, there's a difference, a slight difference in how I'm able to build this shape. And then I can bring my hands down to the sides and it makes no difference, hands on the blocks or hands to the sides, because everything is engaged, right? Everything is present. Everything is working together. Let's do just 2 more breaths here. And it's okay if that is not something that is natural. It's not something that's often taught to us. And so this is a skill that we build. Let's step left foot back. To meet the right, both knees on the earth. Coming down into our tabletop shape. pressing hands into the ground. Let's find that shape again, right? How do we do that? Right? We squeeze all 10 fingertips into the mat, inner elbows spin towards one another and forward, shoulders over wrists, belly into spine, nice and strong here. And just land. It might not seem like it right away. And also make sure that your neck is nice and long, so nose staring at the earth. Belly up into spine. And just land here. And it might not seem like it, but this is a really great core movement, core pose. And so again, we're pulling belly up into spine, and then see if you can squeeze a bit here. Starting to squeeze those belly muscles and engage. And just notice, right? Sometimes that comes easy, sometimes it's just not happening, and that's okay. But once you get it, right? Once you get it, which can only happen through repetition, it's amazing how much faster you can build strength, how much more your back strength will improve, and how much more open your body can be. Let's offer one more breath here. And then we're going to crawl ourselves forward and find forearms on the earth. Drop those hips down. You can have them on the blanket if you want, or you can remove the blanket from here if you'd like. Forearms on the earth, elbows press into the ground, shoulders over elbows, palms press. So again, you can be in this shape and you can just be here, and that is perfectly fine. It's a great place to begin when we're first starting out in the practice. But I would also encourage you to try to add some activation to this shape. And that means pressing the tops of your feet into the ground, pressing the hips into the ground, right? The whole pelvis. Maybe even as you press the pelvis, squeezing the glutes a bit. And then draw the heart forward so the upper body is pretty passive. But the lower body is not. The lower body is active. It's pressing, it's engaged, it's present. Heart lifts forward, and the way in which it draws forward is a slight engagement and drawback in your shoulder blades as your shoulder blades come towards one another. Again, all these movements are so slight. It might seem, a little unattainable in the beginning, but this is how we build this practice. It's just by starting, by giving it a try, and then, building from there. Let's offer one more breath here. And then we'll slowly release to the ground. Bend knees, windshield wiper legs side to side. Let it all go. Really releasing through the lower back. Allowing the body space to let go, to soften. And then when you're ready, slowly walk right knee out to the right and come into a half frog. And in your half frog, you can bring your cheek to the earth and turn to a side. And just let yourself sink into the ground. And this is where the effort really releases all the way. We're no longer efforting by pressing or squeezing. We're no longer, trying to light things up. Here, it's the opposite. It's a release. It's a melting. It's like dissolving back into the earth, which can feel really, really nice. It can be really relieving for the body. ready, you can draw right knee back down and then switch sides. Left knee up to hip height, bringing cheek to the earth. Landing here and softening as much as you can. Noticing where you can release. Or you can find some space where you can soften a bit. Last breath in. Maybe sigh it out. And then slowly come back to center. And we'll roll, tumble onto the back. Bringing knees bent, soles of feet on the earth. You can knock your knees together and take your feet out nice and wide. This is where we can really give the back some support and love. But it's also a great place to release the core. Since we've done, more awareness in the core today. A little bit of core work. Even though it doesn't seem like it. Allowing your body to settle and land on the earth. And this is where we are. So, if you want to stretch a leg or twist a little bit before we come to rest, then you can always do that. Sometimes I find myself having a lot of fidgets. And so if you have fidgets, you can stretch, release, wiggle them out. And then when you're ready, and again, you can stay exactly where you are. If you want, you can stretch your arms and legs out and come into a Shavasana shape that is supportive and relieving for you. It could be just like this, making a star shape on the ground. It could be sending your legs up a wall or resting them on a footrest. Right? We don't need to be in the shape that everyone else is, right? You can find a shape that serves you and where you're at today. Noticing your breath. And if you can, try to bring the breath down into the low belly. Again, if that you're feeling this spot and you're enjoying yourself, then you can just remain here. Linger a bit longer. If you'd like to, if you're ready to transition out of practice, you can stretch arms and legs and maybe twirl the wrists and ankles a little bit. Maybe hug knees into chest, give them a squeeze. If you want, you can roll to a side, pausing for a moment just to feel your body in this position. Often when we move from one shape to another, it's like we do it so quickly, we don't take the time to really notice. What does my body feel like in this transition? So notice that. And then pressing through your hand. And this is where we can start to build into, like better and safer movement. Right? We often don't get injured in our bigger movements and it's in these silly transitions that we do all the time. These repetitive movements that we don't realize could be, could be adding some stress or strain to the body. So your knees are bent, right? You're kind of on the side in fetal pose if you're joining me. And then pressing the opposite hand, the hand farther away from the earth, pressing that into the ground and staying in that press using both hands to slowly come up to a seat. Sending your sit bones onto your blanket support if it's available, and then taking a moment to cross ankles. And this time when you cross, maybe cross in the non-habitual way. So we'll seal our practice ending in the opposite way that we began. And you can bring your hands onto your heart or into prayer pose, into Anjali Mudra in front of your heart, and just take a moment to remember your intention. Right? What is it that you chose to cultivate or call in or bring into this practice? Has it landed? Has it shifted? Noticing, becoming aware of. And then let's offer a big letting go breath to just wash it all away. Big inhale. Sigh it out. Bringing thumb knuckles up to forehead center, to the third eye. Connecting with intuition, insight, a sense of knowing and wisdom within you. Together we'll offer a final breath in. And on our exhale, as we bow together, we say, Namaste. Namaste, dear yogis. You can take your time. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.